Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we're now on the road to 500 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports content, sports talk, anything from the NFL to the NBA, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. And I hope you all had a great weekend. After last night for me, we had this little mini blizzard out there that they always hype the shit out of snowstorms. I don't really ever fall for it. Besides the one we had like a month ago, which we're still paying for outside. Finally, all the snow just melted. I think we were all getting sick of it. I think we're all sick of the snow at this point. God, I can't tell you guys how ready I am for spring and summer. I'm just so over the winter this year. I swear this winter has been one of the worst winters I've had in my lifetime, especially with that ridiculous snowstorm we had, like I mentioned a month ago. But this one, the snow's already gone. They canceled schools. They were hyping it up. At least where I live at, it really wasn't shit, to be honest with you. So I take that as a good thing. I think I speak for a lot of people, including myself, when I say we are ready for winter to be over. We are ready for the snow to go away. No more hyping up blizzards, all that crazy garbage. I'm done with it, bro. I think we're all done with it. But otherwise, aside from that, I've been really busy, of course. I'm right in the midst of the semester for my college, tax season. I've been taking calls left and right, scheduling people in. We run a tax business here, so it's just hectic, and then I'm keeping up on here, but I absolutely love doing this. You all know that, so keeping the content going for y'all. Just can't wait for the busyness to die down so I can really get back to daily uploads and stuff. But I appreciate you guys for sticking around and sticking here for today's video, which I was thinking the other day there's not really a lot of news going around in the NFL right now. We have the NFL draft approaching, free agency approaching, which is honestly, to me, one of my favorite times of the year is free agency. I love seeing where certain players go. And I think this is going to be a pretty interesting free agency class. May not be the best for quarterbacks or whatever, but I was coming across some teams, thinking about some teams, and I was like, what teams do we think are going to be really disappointing next year, that are really going to take a leap and be really disappointing? And one team that stuck out to me that I think is in just the weirdest spot right now is the Washington Commanders. And because when I look at them, they kind of give me a Pittsburgh Steelers vibe. I've said this with them all season, except they're not on ridiculously expensive contracts. They're just an older aging team. And while the Pittsburgh may not be quite as old as Washington, I think Washington is the oldest team in the league, if I'm not mistaken. But between both of those teams, they don't have a lot of great young talent. Like when you look at Pittsburgh, you think of TJ Watt. Well, he's in his 30s now. And you think of Cameron Hayward, who, hell, maybe this year could be his last year. And what's he, 37 or something like that? Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback. He's 42 or something. A lot of their players that you think of are older players. And that's what I think of when I think of the Washington Commanders. Now, Pittsburgh has obviously had a big reset. We don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot kind of brewing up there in the next couple of months. But for the Commanders, I think they don't quite get enough press for how, I don't know. This is going to be an incredibly unpredictable season for this team. If I had to say, I think it's going to go one of two ways. I think this is either going to be kind of like a season like they had a few years ago in Jay Daniels' rookie year. Maybe not quite an NFC Championship appearance, just because I don't think the roster is that good, but I'll get into that here in a minute. Or it is going to be incredibly disappointing again like it was this year. Now, this year, everyone gave him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody was injured, and that's just a fact. Like, that's not like, hey, well, so-and-so was injured. It's not like the injury excuse. Like, this was a legitimate reason. I always say you make excuses for teams or there's legitimate reasons for teams. Now, you can point out the 49ers and be like, hey, the 49ers had a shitload of injuries, but look at them. They made it to the second round of the playoffs, and they got their ass kicked against the Seahawks. But hey, Seahawks went in and won the Super Bowl. So you can't necessarily blame a team for that. Their time was coming anyway. But when you talk about your quarterback being out the whole season, he comes in and his arm goes in 100 different directions. I forget who that was against, but that was one of the more gruesome injuries I've seen. It was just a mess of a season for them. And I think for one, their roster, when you look at the Commanders roster, it is really weird because I believe they are the oldest roster in the NFL. If not, I mean, they're the second or third. I mean, they're right there in terms of being at the top of the oldest rosters in the league. So they don't have a lot of great young talent besides Jane Daniels. And that's where I think of like, okay, let's try to see the young talent they have. It's different than like the New England Patriots or the Seahawks. The Seahawks are an incredibly young team. And you look around and it's like, who's the young talent? Who's the talent on the Seattle Seahawks? All these guys are on first-year contracts. At least a majority of them are. And they're 23, 24, 25 years old, entering into the primes of their career. And I say the same for the Patriots. Drake May's what, my age, 22, 23 years old. And their draft class, which was huge for them this year. I mean, a lot of their players, I think they're the second youngest team in the NFL. So they have a lot to look forward to in terms of getting better as the years go on. And I think the Commanders, regardless whether or not their team was healthy this year, would have hit a bit of a stone wall in terms of their development and getting better as a team. And I said at the beginning of the season, I think this team is really going to struggle in terms of seeing that jump from where they were in terms of the AFC Championship in Jane's rookie year. Jane would have probably taken a lead, but I mean, in fairness, when he was healthy at the beginning of the season, he really didn't look that good. I mean, the times Jane Daniels came in, like when he came back midway through the season, he was still hurt. Everyone and their mothers was saying, why are they sticking Jane Daniels in here to play again? Like, this just isn't a good idea. Goes and puts his arm in 100 different directions. Obviously, he didn't need to do that, but it's the NFL. Gruesome injuries happen all the time. And unfortunately, it happened to him. And it's like he shouldn't even have been in the game anyway. The season was lost, and they had a bunch of injuries besides Daniels. Terry McLaurin was hurt all year. Debo, I mean, Jesus, how many times has he been hurt over the last 4 or 5 years? I can't even count. Every time you look up at the injury report, he has some, hell, I don't even know. Debo has some ridiculous injury. I know his tooth is loose or some stupid shit. So, I just think regardless, they would have stonewalled this season. And I think, again, it's overlooked because of the injuries. They had a lot of injuries, so people don't necessarily see that. But I think this year upcoming, I think they're in a bit of a, I don't know the word I'm trying to look for. They're in a pretty difficult situation. And I think between Dan Quinn, it kind of seems like he kind of went into desperation mode this all season. Fired Cliff Kingsbury, who, mind you, he didn't have a healthy offense all year. And his offense with Jane Daniels was great. I mean, he had one of the greatest rookie campaigns ever in the NFL for any position, quarterback, right? Anything. I mean, he's one of the greatest rookies to ever do it. After we've seen C.J. Stroud's rookie year, which we all thought was the greatest rookie quarterback year, Jane Daniels comes in and completely eclipses it. Like, we all forgot about C.J. Stroud's rookie year. Now we all talk about Jane Daniels' rookie year, and you go in and you fire Cliff Kingsbury. Now, look, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Cliff Kingsbury, but I do think what was there was working. I actually thought the offense, with all the injuries they had, looked pretty good this year. You know what the issue was? They had one of the worst defenses historically in the NFL. In NFL history, their defense was so bad. That falls on Dan Quinn's side of the ball. And I think Dan Quinn is trying to shift the blame. Now, look, Marshawn Lattimore's out. You have that defense is incredibly old. Bobby Wagner in coverage is, he runs like just some, he looks washed. He looks completely washed out there. Looks like some like fat old uncle out there running at the cookout or some shit. I mean, he legitimately cannot keep up with these guys at all. So I think between the old players, the injuries, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore's getting old now. He had a pretty major injury that it's going to be hard for him to come back from. I think Dan Quinn was trying to shift his blame on his side of the ball over to the offense. I mean, he like wiped the offense clean. Who's their offensive coordinator now? It's a quarterback from a couple of years ago. Is it David Blau, I believe, or something like that? I'm like 99% certain he's their new offensive coordinator, which again could work out to be very good. They have a lot of talent on offense, but that defense is worrisome. They do not have the best defense in the world. Their O-line isn't great. I still don't really like their running back room. And again, it comes back to me of they have a very old roster. Their coaching situation is kind of in chaos. I think Dan Quinn knows he got desperate, and I think he could very well be on the hot seat if they have a disappointing start. I think if they start off 1-3, 1-4, that defense kind of plays like they did again, Barring that their team is coming back healthy now, you're going to have your healthy quarterback. You're going to have your healthy receiving room. At least they should, for the most part. And if they go out and start disappointing, I think Dan Quinn could easily be on his seat, could be scorching midway through the season, to be honest with you. So I think this is a team to look out for coming up this season. I think it's a really weird situation. And mind you, too, the Commanders, in terms of stability for an organization, it's never really been there. When I look at certain organizations over the years, I trust the Patriots. I trust the Ravens. I trust certain winning franchises to be able to bounce back from a down year, a down 2 years, down 3 years, if you're rebuilding. I don't trust the Commanders to come back from a down year. Yes, I know, new ownership, but they did sign Terry McLaurin, but they had all that drama going into the offseason with him. They didn't know whether or not they were going to sign him. It's like, bro, just put the pen to paper. Give him something the man can sign. He was a big reason for Jane Daniels. And again, we're starting to kind of cheap out. He stuck through the hardest years of your franchise, and yet you're not willing to pay him whatever you needed to pay him. And he's a big reason Jane Daniels had the greatest rookie year in NFL history. So I think on top of that, I think on top of just their really a majority of their franchise's lifespan over the last, 30 years or something like that. I know they were good back in the 80s, 90s, whatever, years and years ago. But over my lifetime, the last 22, 23 years, they really haven't done anything. They had the 1 year with RG3, and besides that, I can't really think of any standout years from this Washington team. I mean, legitimately, all I think of is just constant 5-11, 5-12, 4 wins, 6 wins, just like maybe not quite as bad as like the Raiders, but they're up there in terms of teams that are just really bad over the last 20, 30 years. So I think this could be a really weird year. Again, it goes one of two ways. Dan Quinn and this team finds their momentum. They come back healthy, and they really say, hey, David Blau, we proved that Cliff Kingsbury firing, it worked. We did it for a reason. Or it's like the offense is going to completely mutter out. We could have a Kevin Patullo situation potentially. And Jane Daniels, it looks like this whole offense has regressed. The defense plays like shit again. So they could be, there could be one of two ways. I keep saying that. And it could get really bad for this team. It kind of reminds me of maybe what the Miami Dolphins would be like, except it's just not with Tua. But it could just get ugly fast. I don't know. I think they're, to me, to being one of the candidates for one of the worst teams in the NFL. Again, I look at young talent. I can't really count how much young, exciting talent the Washington Commanders have besides Jane Daniels. Maybe you could throw Krosky Merritt in there, but I don't necessarily think his ceiling's like too high. I don't think he has the potential to be one of the best running backs in the NFL. I think he can be an average running back on his best day at his peak, but besides that, I don't know. I just don't think, I mean, I like Frankie Louvu. I like some of those guys, but there's just not enough there for me to think that this team has a lot to work with going into this season and future seasons. I'm not even just talking about next year. I mean, you're going to have to pay Jane Daniels an ass load of money in a couple of years. So I think this team could really be headed for some trouble coming into this year. And if you're asking me, well, you say it's going to go one of two ways. If you were to ask me which way do I think it's going to go, I think with the Giants potentially going to get better, which I'd say for the Giants, look, it's not hard to get better. I think John Harbaugh, to me, I think is one of the most overrated coaches in NFL history. Never had a situation where he had to wonder, well, who's my quarterback going to be? It's not like he went to Arizona this year and it's like, only God knows. I don't even know if God knows what the Arizona Cardinals are going to do with their quarterback room or anything on their roster. I mean, genuinely, nobody knows. And he's always had stability at the quarterback position. He went there when Joe Flacco got drafted. Lamar Jackson came in and saved his ass from getting fired the first time. So there is an element there with John Harbaugh. Look, you look at the coaches the Giants have had in the past, they're not great. They're pretty awful, to be honest with you. But John Harbaugh is going to bring some sort of stability there. He is a professional head coach. I think he'll be able to make something work. They'll get Malik Neighbors back. So the Giants are going to improve. They're not going to be a free 1 or 2 wins every year. The Eagles, maybe I could see regressing. I don't really like the Drew Petzing hire, to be honest with you, but maybe I'll be completely proven wrong. I think Nick Sirianni, it's kind of the same situation there. I think his seat is getting a little hot. That's something to keep an eye out for. And the Cowboys are not going to be a bad team, but We'll see what they do. Again, this is just before free agency. Maybe the Commanders go out, they go get a bunch of players in free agency and really, really load up. So maybe in a month from now, it could look like a real jackass. I don't know. But as of right now, if they go in rolling with this squad they have, and they'll make a couple of decent additions, which I'm sure they'll go out and get some guys. Brandon Ayuk is apparently a potential candidate in the receiving room. I'd stay away from that guy like he was the plague. I don't know if you guys seen that video of him the other day on, was it an Instagram Live? He is just literally sitting there holding a melting ice cream in his hand, just staring, not saying a fucking word, just hold it. I'm like, bro, this guy's like Antonio Brown, but like nowhere near the production. And Antonio Brown, for a majority of his career, besides the last 3-4 years or so, was pretty normal. Like, he was a pretty chill dude. I always say that hit was it Vontaze Perfect. When he hit him in the head, that I swear that changed Antonio Brown's whole trajectory for his life. Not even just his career, but his entire life. He's just been a completely different person since. But Brandon Ayuk is like going through this, and he has not played that long. And yeah, he's Jaden Daniels' former teammate on in college. But I'd stay away from him. I want no parts of that. I mean, I don't know. Again, you guys have got to go look that up. Just a melting ice cream cone in his hand, and he's just sitting there staring. Nothing, not a word. I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't know if I want to be 20 feet within this guy. It just looks like crazy, like literally crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you had to tell me to lean one side between whether or not the Commanders are going to be good or whether or not they could fall in the wasteland, I'd probably take the Commanders to fall in the wasteland. I don't know how much I trust this team right now. As before free agency, maybe this will change. We'll come back and maybe change this take, but we'll see. As of right now, I don't necessarily trust this team, but that's all I got for y'all today, man. Be back tomorrow with y'all for a vid. I appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button if you haven't. Support the channel, and means a ton to me. Seriously, I appreciate you guys for sticking around here. Busy time of year, I'm sure it is for everybody. We're all ready for hot weather, the sun. Maybe you live in Arizona watching this, and it's like that year-round. But if you're on the East Coast with me, man, it's been a hell of a winter. But thank God it's right around the corner from being over. So, yeah. Appreciate y'all for watching and appreciate y'all. Take it easy.